Hey everyone, it's been a minute since my last major video. A lot happened in my personal life, so I wanted to go decompress. Some people say I need to go touch grass more, so I'm doing this video outside. But I didn't come unprepared. I brought water so I don't die from the summer heat, and I brought my Nintendo Switch so I don't die from boredom. During the past month or so, I've been giving all sorts of new games a try. So I thought I'd make a video about what games I played in July. What are you doing? Start the video, you stupid bitch!
It's my birthright!
Sorry, Donkey Kong, you're just not a draw anymore.
After a decade of pretty much nothing, Donkey Kong is finally back in a 3D platformer. Before I say anything about the new Funky Monkey video game, I just want to let you all know that there will not be any major spoilers. I'll only be showing footage from the first few worlds of the game and anything they revealed in trailers. I know some people are a little disappointed that we still have yet to see a proper sequel to Super Mario Odyssey. I imagine Nintendo has more than enough resources to make sure both games can be taken care of at the same time. Though, until then, DK Bonanza is basically the closest we have to a new 3D Mario game. While I personally would have loved a proper expansion on the capture mechanic for Mario Odyssey, it's very obvious that Bonanza is heavily built off of Bowser's gameplay from the end of Odyssey. Also, don't bitch at me for spoiling the Bowser level. You've had plenty of time to play it if you haven't already. This game is literally older than the average Fortnite player.
Who remembers the Infinity Stones?
Similar to Bowser's gameplay, DK Bonanza is mostly about smashing stuff and feeling powerful while doing it. I personally would have preferred it being a proper Bowser game, but a gay can dream.
Mega faggot!
Again, I won't be spoiling the actual story, but the general plot is rather interesting. From what I can gather, Bonanza is somewhat of a new origin story for the Big Ape, with him meeting a child version of Pauline, which is the lady he kidnapped in the 1981 Donkey Kong arcade game. I assume that this game is attempting to retcon the whole Cranky Kong was the original DK thing and create some extra context for the arcade game. Perhaps he kidnaps Pauline not because he's a villain, but because he misses her? Or something? I'm not entirely sure how to feel about this aspect of Bonanza, but I can at least appreciate that it's something new. Again, I might be misinterpreting this because I actually haven't finished the game yet. I'm sort of taking my time and savoring everything this game has to offer. When Mario Odyssey first came out, I literally beat it the night it released. I wasn't even trying to speedrun it or anything, I just inhaled it by accident. The general gameplay is very obviously built off of Odyssey's Collectathon sandbox framework, with a heavier emphasis on the sandbox aspect. DK can literally smash through anything, and I mean anything. It almost has some traits of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in the sense that it encourages a lot of experimentation and creativity. It's almost limitless. Very few objectives in this game seem to have a single solution. There's different materials that have different traits, throwing them can have different effects. There's one part early on that requires you to break this big pillar to create a bridge for the objective. But I was too stupid to realize how to do this, so instead I just threw a bunch of dirt at the wall and stuck it to a cliff, creating a bridge that I could cross. It's things like that I love about video games. I enjoy when creativity is encouraged, and I imagine that this game will have a lot of replayability once it's done. Well, it better be, because it cost $70 fucking dollars. Man, remember when Nintendo said Tears of the Kingdom was gonna be the only Nintendo game to cost $70? Well, look where we ended up. Thanks, Obama. God, that thing looks putrid. Let's put him out of his misery. There we go. Anyways, DK Bonanza is a great game. I still have yet to finish it, but I'm having a good time with it so far. Though, I can see some similar problems to Odyssey, mainly the whole too many collectibles problem. Mario Odyssey had over 1,000 moons to collect, and only a fraction of those had meaningful and memorable missions attached to it. Most of them were just out in the open. Bonanza suffers from a similar problem from what I've played at least, and even some of the bosses I've fought so far are a little forgettable. Not even because their designs are boring or uncreative, it's just the way that they're all fought is a little too similar. DK being so overpowered typically leads to the combat feeling a little mindless, and they end up being finished faster than I'd prefer. With Mario Odyssey, most of them required a specific enemy to capture, so the boss combat never exactly felt the same each time. Overall, I can see this game not being for everyone, but I'm enjoying it a lot, personally. Also, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I like the new DK design. Not to be all, "Oh, people online are being negative again!" But I've seen a lot of complaints about the new design on social media, calling it too corporate or sanitized and hyping up the Rare design as a masterpiece. Personally, the new design's grown on me. Especially seeing it in this game, he's incredibly expressive and still feels like Donkey Kong to me at least. I imagine some people just don't like that the rare DK design is gone after all these years. A nostalgic icon of our childhood was taken away from us, and some people just can't accept that. In my opinion, DK was in desperate need of a makeover, especially with all these other characters getting slight redesigns in recent years. I think it was long overdue. And this is coming from someone who grew up with Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, so I'm not biased against the classic design. It's just, besides maybe Tropical Freeze, most recent iterations of the DK design look kind of bad to me, especially his Mario Kart 8 model. The verdict? Monkey Game is good. Go buy it. No!
Monkey!
From one monkey game to another, I'm here to talk about Samba de AMIGO. For those who are unaware, Samba de AMIGO is an arcade rhythm game developed by Sonic Team and published by Sega in 1999, which, fun fact, ran off of their iconic Sega Naomi arcade units. You play as this little monkey named Amigo, designed by Yuichi Uekawa, who you might know as the guy behind a lot of Sonic artwork during the 2000s.
Knock knock his knuckle.
This series is heavily based around Latin American culture, and to play the game, you would need these big plastic maracas. The original game did have a few sequels. There was Samba de AMIGO version 2000 for the Dreamcast, and eventually a port of that game was made for the Wii in 2008, developed by Gearbox Software. Yes, that Gearbox Software. I've been playing the Wii one a lot lately. It's been a weird comfort game that cured my depression, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm mainly focusing on Samba de AMIGO Party Central for the Nintendo Switch. During my time with the Wii game, I sort of remembered that they made a Samba de AMIGO game much more recently, and I forgot that I bought it when it released back in 2023. Once I had my fill of the Wii game, I dove straight into Party Central. First thing I noticed with this version is, goddamn, the Joy-Cons are so good for a game like this. While you can play this one with traditional button controls, motion controls are the backbone of Samba de AMIGO. You lose a lot of this game's soul if you choose not to play it the way God intended. Holding two Joy-Cons and shaking them like maracas feels incredibly natural. Sadly, the Wii version of Samba de AMIGO kind of suffered in this regard. This game was released way before the Wii Motion Plus add-on ever came out, so it suffers from very inaccurate and clumsy motion controls that makes this game very difficult to play at times. If they released this game with the Motion Plus add-on already out, it would have played so much better, and I feel like it would have been received more positively. This game got somewhat mixed reception, mainly due to the clunky motion controls. Party Central, on the other hand, feels incredibly smooth. I think there's also a slightly wider margin for error here to make up for any inaccuracies, but either way, it feels really fun and responsive. Both games have somewhat of a campaign mode. Really, these are just song packs and challenges, though Party Central does include more content that makes progression feel more meaningful. You go up against other characters that you meet in the story in these little competitions, and they do leave little messages for you to read on the select screen. Hashtag dance, hashtag street.
Follow me.
Wamba's bar is awesome. I own a bar.
Eating onion rings every day.
Bingo ate my marshmallow. Bongo ate my gummy. Well, I didn't say the messages were anything amazing. I just said they were there. Party Central's campaign does have a bit of story to it as well. You see, this is a modern game in modern times. AMIGO is matured. He's ditched his roots as a walking stereotype and wants to be an online influencer. I imagine this is Sega's excuse for why he isn't wearing a sombrero on the box art anymore. While you can still wear his classic outfit in-game, I assume they likely wanted to hide this to avoid any potential controversy. Maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but the internet did try to take away Speedy Gonzalez for similar reasons, and I'm not letting anyone take away AMIGO. There's this sort of progress bar where every time you complete a level or a boss in story mode, AMIGO gets a ton of followers. Honestly, even though I'm a niche internet micro-celebrity, I never really liked these sort of games where you simulate being an epic influencer or some other online figure. It kind of reminds me of when an out-of-touch TV show talks about social media and it's always like instant popularity overnight, then they're always saying,
Whoa, man, we got millions of views on the YouTube.
well, at least his audience loves him.
Yes.
Overall, it's an alright campaign. It just gives you a reason to play the songs that the game has. Speaking of the songs, these games actually have a lot to offer. In Party Central, it's mostly a lot of 2010s pop music and Sega originals. I think the Wii one has a far better music pool, in my opinion. This one contains mostly a lot of Spanish music and some American classics, including Soul Bossa Nova, which you might recognize from its use in the Austin Powers films. There's also some fun remixes and covers of other popular music, such as the Take On Me ska cover by Real Big Fish, which made its debut in the Dreamcast version and carried over to the Wii game. Sega seems to consider Take On Me as one of the many mainstays for Samba de Amigo, much like the Macarena. And it was featured in the Amigos Favorites DLC pack for Party Central, though they used the Weezer cover instead. Kind of a downgrade IMO.
That means in my opinion.
Nothing against Weezer or their cover, but I generally think the Real Big Fish cover does a better job at matching the high-energy Samba de Amigo is known for. My game theory for why they changed it is because Sega, in a typical Sega move, decided it's better to replace licensed music instead of trying to pay royalties to the original artists or whatever. But both are good in their own way. Actually, I think that's a good way to sum up both of these games. Both games are good in their own way, but Party Central is probably the one I'd recommend to newcomers looking to play a Samba de Amigo game. The motion controls are very responsive, and the song charting is incredibly creative and energetic. The song list, while not my cup of tea, is probably good enough for most people. And the game goes on sale often, so you'd probably have an easier time buying it and the DLC packs, because there's a lot of DLC packs. Also, it works perfectly on the Switch 2's backward compatibility, so be sure to put those fancy new Joy-Cons to use. If you have a Nintendo Wii, or an emulator, lying around, Samba de Amigo can still be a great time on the Wii, despite its clunky controls. While the game can be played with a Wiimote and nunchuck, I highly recommend using 2 Wii remotes instead. It's a tiny bit more accurate and flexible at the cost of burning through extra batteries. Again, I personally adore the song list in this version. Maybe it's just my inner Latinx, but there's too many classics for me to overlook. Also, they did a far greater job at representing Space Channel 5 compared to how Party Central handled it. They at least had Ooh La La show up when you play a song that's literally featured in her game. Meanwhile, Sonic gets to be in both games without any issue.
You guys all think you're so much better than me!
For shame, Sega. For shame. Hey guys. You know, I've been thinking, I feel like racing games sometimes have a weird stigma surrounding them. Maybe it's just me growing up around the type of gamers who reject anything that doesn't have a gun or a ball in it, but I always had a strong love for racing games. Obviously, Mario Kart comes to mind, but what about arcade-style racing games like Ridge Racer or Daytona USA? Arcade racers rarely get represented in recent times. It's either chaotic cartoon mascot racing games or overly realistic driving sims, without much in between. Wait. What's that over there? Thankfully, that's where Victory Heat Rally comes in, to fill that gap. Released at the end of 2024 and published by Playtonic Games. You know, the ukulele guys. Apparently, Playtonic's become a publisher for a lot of other indie devs. While I may have issues with their original works, I've never been the biggest fan of Yooka-Laylee, I do really appreciate that they have opened doors for other people to help get their games off the ground. I might even look into other games they've published. One of the first things you'll notice about the game, well, besides the fact that I named my save file BOIM, is the visual style. This game heavily resembles a lot of Game Boy Advance and PS1 era games. It's a very beautiful looking game with clean sprite art, bright colors, and a killer soundtrack. Seriously, I mean, listen to this. Wait a minute. Not only do I hear a Jet Set Radio sample, I think I hear Pepsi Man! I could go on about how much I love the presentation, but how does the game actually play? Well, I mostly messed around with the campaign mode during my time with it. You have a few tours to play through where you unlock characters and play a healthy variety of challenges focused on racing. Oh, and boobs.
Boobs!
It might not seem like it because I'm far from good at this game, but Victory Heat Rally plays damn near perfectly. I have no complaints here. Like I said, this is an arcade racer. No goofy power-ups to mix up the game, or realistic driving physics to make you feel sluggish. This game is all skill with a ton of thrills. There is a power slide mechanic that's very obviously based off of Mario Kart's drifting. It even has mini turbos. There is a slight learning curve to the drift. It's not as easy to use as, say, Mario Kart's, but it still feels really rewarding once you get the hang of when to use it.
Oh, Jesus!
I think I killed a man. He'll be fine, probably. Overall, Victory Heat Rally isn't anything groundbreaking, but it's still an amazing time. The controls are perfect and there is a solid sense of speed here. I mainly credit that to the very creative camera work. It does that weird camera tilt thing that a lot of older racing games do. It's not something you typically notice while you're focused on driving, but it really gives the sense that you're taking extra hard turns because of how intense the race gets. It's a great time. If you've been looking for a new racing game to fill the hole that Mario Kart World left once you realized how little content that game actually has to offer, please consider Victory Heat Rally, and unlike Mario Kart World, it won't break the bank. It goes for $25 US, and typically goes on sale for far less. Ah yes, the low cost for entry, yet another reason why you gotta love indie games. And boobs.
Boobs! I mean, Naruto!
For those unaware, REZ was a game first released on the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2 back in 2001, published by Sega and developed by United Game Artists, or UGA for short, who you might know from their work on the Space Channel 5 games. It's a futuristic on-rail shooter with a heavy emphasis on music and the vibration feedback of your controller. I actually learned of this game during the recording of one of our Sunnie64 videos. My good friend Cool Bread Guy casually brought up how this game came with a vibration accessory.
You guys ever heard about like the REZ vibrator for PS2?
Excuse me?
The what?
At first I thought he was exaggerating for the sake of comedy, but god, it's real. And look at this commercial for the game. Nothing gay here, obviously.
Mega fat.
But about REZ, it's a straightforward game. You follow a hacker as they progress through a malfunctioning computer system. The 3D person in the middle of the screen is you, the player, and you shoot down all sorts of bad guys with a great soundtrack pushing you forward. While music does play a huge part in this game, it's not a rhythm game in the traditional sense, like, say, Guitar Hero or Parappa the Rapper. Your inputs create little sounds that sync with the beat as you play. It's no different from what Tetris Effect does, where you basically unintentionally create the music. REZ Infinite is no different, as this game is essentially a semi-remake, available on Steam and the PlayStation Store. It plays very similar to the original, except with shiny new graphics and additional levels featured in the Area X mode. There is also VR support, but I don't own a VR headset, so I wasn't able to try that out. There's not a lot to say about REZ Infinite. It's a very simple game, but not in a bad way. If you like on-rail shooters similar to something like, say, Panzer Dragoon or Star Fox, you'll have a great time with it. I know it's a little pretentious to say something like this, but REZ isn't just a game. It's kind of a whole experience of its own. I kept getting sucked in every time I booted this one up. There's not much like it, and I can't recommend it enough. But I imagine this game might not be for everyone. Some would probably prefer a more complex game with a deeper story, and the game could be considered light on content for some. Maybe get REZ Infinite when it goes on sale if you're hesitant about giving it a try. As of the making of this video, the game's actually on sale on the PlayStation Store. The deal ends August 14th, so don't wait if the game interests you. If you don't know who Tony Hawk is, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave this video because I'm going to just assume that you're like 10 years old and my content isn't intended for anyone that young. Got it? Good. Anyways, I always had an appreciation for Tony Hawk. He seems like an alright guy, his existential crisis on Twitter was pretty funny, and I even enjoy his god-awful movie.
Smells like pee-pee and poo-poo in here.
It's gotta be Tony.
Yeah, this was a thing, but that'll definitely be a topic for another video in the future. I love talking about this abomination. If you're anything like me, I'm horrible at skating in real life, so the Pro Skater games are a good way to live out that fantasy of, well, being a pro skater. The Tony Hawk games are a great example of high-speed gameplay with a fun learning curve. They typically consist of you skating around various levels, doing tricks, racking up tons of points, and doing all sorts of wacky missions, with a little bit of crude humor and an energetic soundtrack. Many of these songs actually are picked out by Mr. Boney Hawk himself. Sure, the series isn't perfect, there's the occasional stinker, but most Tony Hawk games are iconic, and their legacy cannot be understated. Many 90s and 2000s kids grew up with at least one of these games. I haven't played much beyond the underground games until the Pro Skater 1+2 remake came out in 2020. As some of you might know, Vicarious Visions, the studio responsible for that remake, was actually planning to give Pro Skater 3 and 4 the same treatment, but unfortunately the studio was merged into Activision Blizzard's other divisions and forced to abandon any projects they were working on before. However, a new studio, Iron Galaxy, resurrected the Pro Skater 3 and 4 project, and it finally hit store shelves just recently. To mixed reception. Due to the messy production this game had, being cancelled and resurrected by a completely different studio, I could imagine that Iron Galaxy had some trouble making this game the same way Vicarious Visions would have had it done. It's not known how far they got before their version of this remake was abandoned. Knowing Activision's history with horribly mismanaging anything they own, they likely didn't put a lot of time or resources towards this game. If it isn't Call of Duty, Activision will most likely not give a shit about it. I can't comment on how I was personally affected by the remake's problems. I've only played a little bit of the original Pro Skater 3, and I never got around to trying the original version of 4. I never grew up with them. I imagine many of the negative reviews are from people who are upset that this remake isn't more accurate to what they grew up with, which is understandable. I was really hoping this remake would have been a great gateway to the originals, similar to what the 1+2 remake was. From what I've played and seen, the Pro Skater 3 side of this package seems to be fairly faithful to the original besides a few changes. However, Pro Skater 4 is where things get tricky. Oh wait, wrong game. The original version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was nothing like the first 3 games. Instead of working under a time limit to complete tasks in an almost arcade-like format, Pro Skater 4 introduced a semi-open world campaign mode where you'd skate around and get tasks from NPCs, similar to what the underground games would later expand upon. Sadly, that campaign aspect of 4 was completely gutted in the remake. It follows the same framework as the previous 3 games. Basically, it's like if they included a level pack of the skate parks from 4, and instead of accurately recreating that experience, they just kind of put it into 3. Again, I have little nostalgia or attachment to the original game, so I can't personally get up in arms and act like this is some travesty or ruining my childhood. But knowing they cut a core aspect of the original is pretty disappointing, and there's been a lot of backlash due to these changes. Activision is 100% to blame here. 4 would have been a far more ambitious game to accurately remake with fancy 2025 graphics, and they probably just didn't want to put the time and money into that. Supposedly, and don't quote me on this, I just heard this while I was researching the game, Iron Galaxy's version of the remake was in development for about a year and a half, using the framework of 1+2 and sacrificing the original campaign mode probably made it quicker and easier to finish. I also wouldn't be surprised if they rushed out this game to hit the Switch 2's launch window. But hey, at least we got
Squidward's house
as an Easter egg in Skater Island. I know I'm focusing a lot on the negative side of this game. I don't like doing that, but this is a major issue that I can't just ignore. I really do hope they put out updates to make this game feel more complete. At least there is an option to increase the in-game timer, so you can sort of recreate the original freedom of skating without a time limit. I'm sure some would prefer to remove it altogether, but I personally have my fill of skating in the same map after 10 minutes or so, let alone 60 minutes. But besides those problems, I'd say Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 is very fun. It's not a faithful remake, but that doesn't make it a bad standalone game. If you loved 1+2 as much as I did, you'll have a good time with 3 and 4. I do hope that if they ever remake the Underground games, they're given the proper time needed to make them as accurate as possible. But that's probably very unlikely knowing Activision. Ideally, I'd rather them just make a Pro Skater 6. 5 was a soulless train wreck, and I'd really like to see an original Brony Hawk game again. But even if they remake the Underground games and completely butcher them, at least the original games are still a thing. Knowing that the version of 4 I'm playing in the remake isn't the same as the original, I might eventually give the original a try. Now, if only they had the game easily available in stores. Guess I'll have to emulate it. Let's see, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 GameCube ROM download. And search. So that's what I played in July. I thought I'd just put out a video on an easy topic to get myself back in the groove of making things again. But there is another reason why I made this video, and that was to help raise awareness of some good modern games that came out in these past couple years. There's this weird sentiment I've been seeing a lot online recently, that being, gaming is dead. Everything sucks now, and not a single new game is worth playing anymore or getting excited for. Personally, I disagree. In my opinion, it's become far too easy to get caught up in the newest controversy, the newest layoffs, or the biggest AAA flop. But like it or not, interactive entertainment was and still is a beautiful and valid art form. In some aspects, I'd even debate that gaming is better than it was before. Technology has gotten more advanced, and the barrier to entry is so much more accessible now. There's always something new and exciting out there just waiting to be discovered. If you can bring yourself to look beyond the constant drama online, the bubble of derivative annual releases, or live service trash, your next favorite game could be out there waiting for you. To some, it sounds like a big task to go out and find something new to play, but trust me, it's far easier than you might think. Go browse digital marketplaces on your platform of choice. They usually have a segment to recommend games tailored to your preferences. Maybe go on the internet, research the type of game you're looking for, ask for recommendations from friends, family, online communities, or simply just watch more videos like this one to help raise awareness for games that might have went under your radar. Video games are a great art form that I will always appreciate, even if times are a little different now. But I promise you, it's not all terrible. It's not all shitty annual releases, live service games, and $80 games that just want your money and nothing else. And I know hyping up the indie scene has a weird stigma around it. A lot of people assume all of it's just quirky Earthbound-inspired games about depression or whatever, but trust me, there's a lot out there that you just aren't seeing. Social media loves to drown out anything positive, anything fun, anything interesting, and just spotlight negativity and misinformation. Don't be a slave to your algorithms. If there's something you feel like you're missing or something you want, go out there and look for it. It's probably there. And that's really all I want to say here. But before I wrap up, I want to quickly announce that I plan to take a crack at live streaming sometime very soon. I had to replace my capture card recently due to audio problems, and I'm slowly getting things set up. I have some problems with my computer I'm looking to get fixed first. But be sure to subscribe to my channels, not just to keep an eye out for when I start doing that, but for future videos too. It helps a lot. I'm mainly planning to play games and hang out with you guys on these streams, when I do them of course. Drawing streams are still a huge maybe, mostly because I draw on my phone and that could be a little harder to set up, but I could dust off my drawing tablet for that probably. But yeah, that's all for now. Do me a quick favor and go play a fun game. Either go back to something you liked in the past or give something new a try, maybe one of the games I showcased here. If you want, leave a comment sharing what you might play next. I'm honestly curious to hear about that. I've been Sunnie64, and God damn it, I had a feeling I'd get all dirty from all this grass. Ugh, can this day get any worse? Wait, what the fuck are those?